Hello. We're checking the audio for the YouTube live. Is it working?
Yeah, seems to be working.
And Ryan.
Am I audible, Sushri?
Yes, you're audible.
Guys, we'll be starting in a few minutes by 7:15. So all the participants are requested to check in their mics and audios before we start to perform.
Hey everyone. The participants, can you all please check your, if your audios and videos are working and there are no technical issues from your end? I hope I was audible.
Yes, you're audible.
We'll be starting in about 5 minutes by 7:15, if that is okay with everyone.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so everyone is here. I guess we should start. Uh, I request everyone to turn on their cameras, please.
All the participants, please turn on your cameras so we can begin.
So, Shania, what was your favorite bedtime story? Do you remember it?
My favorite bedtime story. I think it has to be the capsule and the monkeys. It was interesting. What about yours?
I think mine was that Goldilocks and the Three Bears, if you remember.
That one was cute. That one was cute.
So,
What
what
about
about you
everyone
guys?
else? The audience? What were your favorite bedtime stories, fairy tales, whatever? We want to see some in the chat box, please.
Please spam the chats. Oh, Mulan. That's nice.
Yeah, that one was nice. Cinderella, yes.
Cinderella.
Perfect. Oh God, how can we talk about fairy tales and not talk about Cinderella?
Jack and the Beanstalk. Oh, I almost remember that story now.
So
Not that I'm
nostalgic. Oh my
quoting.
God.
So I guess we can all agree that it's the very common memory of our childhood that we all share. Reading bedtime stories or asking our grandparents to read us bedtime stories while they put us to bed, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Nana Nani kiss stories. Oh God, the good times, I tell you. So essentially, stories have been a part of, human culture since the beginning of time, be it history, folk tales, mythology, even fantasy.
So, like Shania, have you ever wondered what would have happened if the stories had some different ending? Like, what if the Snow White never ate that apple? Or what if the Sleeping Beauty never fell asleep?
Some very cute plot twists these are. Sometimes the death of your favorite character in some series or a novel maybe that you're reading, it just bothers you so much that you want to end up changing the whole
Oh
plot.
God, I don't even want to think about it. It's so heart touching. Like I
Yeah,
die a little inside if I read about it, and then at the same time I'm enraged with the author for killing my favorite character. It's
yeah, that's
very
annoying.
disappointing.
It's very traumatizing. Oh God, to see your favorite character die. I cannot. So this is precisely why we came up with this event. So hello and welcome everyone to our second and final round of our event. That is Twist the Tail.
Twist the tales. So hello everyone, I am Priya Harshe and this is Shanaya Rajput and we'll be your host for this amazing evening.
So first and foremost, I would like to thank all of our participants. You guys are amazing. It was because of you guys that we actually have this event going on. So an applaud for our participants, be it the round one participants or round two participants, the contestants competing right now to be the winner. We love you all. Because of you, this event is possible. And on the judging panel for tonight, we have two very creative and talented judges, Miss Anshadeep Sharda and Mrs. Aparna Upadhyay Sanyal. I would
Hi,
like to welcome
everybody.
them.
Thanks for the welcome, Shania.
So, Miss Anshadeep Sharda is the Chief Everything Officer at Speaking Souls, which is a creative agency. Um, Rumor has it that she gets high on paperbacks and alphabets strung together. Coming from a family of doctors, she never had the thought of becoming an entrepreneur initially. She is a writer at heart and has been doing freelancing content writing and editing since 5 years and creative writing since she was 12. Ma'am, would you like to add something?
Thanks for the introduction. That's pretty much about it. So it's about like I do everything I do is about art and artists and writing. So I think that sums up. So this is what I want to add. And also I loved all the entries I read for the round one. Even the ones who didn't qualify, kudos to you all.
Thank you so much.
So second up, we have Mrs. Aparna Upadhyay Sanyal. Aparna ma'am holds an MA from King's College London. She is a recipient of 14th Bellew Rose Poetry Prize by Smartish Pace and was shortlisted for 2018 Third Post Fiction Prize. Her debut book Circus Folks and Village Freaks released in October 2018 and since has been number one on Amazon Indian Poetry bestseller list and Hot New Releases list. Her next book, which includes of short stories, releases with HarperCollins in 2022. She is a Popular performance poet and speaker for inclusivity, body neutrality, and mental health, and has performed at various venues across the country. She has also worked in many international anthologies and journals as well. Welcome, Aparna ma'am.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you so much. Just want to say, Priya and Shania, thank you so much. You guys have worked so hard to put this whole thing together. Let's have a quick round of applause for Priya and Shania. They've worked really hard.
Thank you so
And yeah, I've been throwing all
Thank
kinds
you,
of
ma'am.
curveballs at them continuously. And fantastic how they picked everything up and done it. And also the participants, you guys, really looking forward to hear your performances.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Those were some really sweet words.
Not
Um,
all.
So yeah, I would like to say a very, very huge thanks to both of our amazing judges. We wholeheartedly appreciate all of the efforts and the time that you have taken out to, appear for this event, all of the efforts that you put into judging all of the entries. Thank you so much for all of that. Also, a round of applause for our judges. Um, so our event started on the 20th of February when we declared the choices of tales, wherein the participants could choose tales from the classics like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Pinocchio. We received a delightful amount of entries, and although literally all of them, they were outstanding in their own ways. But we had to choose only a few that would move on to round number two, that is today.
So judges finalized the top six entries which are about to perform today, and so without the further ado, let's begin by inviting our very first participant to narrate his story, Aisa Srivastava. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes,
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 yes.
you are.
All right. Should I start now?
Yes, you can.
All right. Aladdin. Aladdin. Once upon a time, there existed a magical world of powerful genies and flying carpets. The sun drowned the city of Maghreb in a yellow hue. Jasmine was strolling down the streets in the bazaar. The bazaar had perambulating carts, shops selling the brightest carpets and clothes. Fruit sellers sell fruits in every size, shape, and color. Shops selling brightly colored spices. I have to find something to cure my father, Jasmine thought to herself. A beautiful and intelligent princess was Jasmine. Her father, the Sultan, was ill for a very long time, and no medic or doctor in the royal palace was able to cure him. So she decided to find a cure herself. She had heard of an apothecary in the bazaar which had cured of all diseases and imported herbs. Jasmine had covered herself in a brown silk shawl to hide the royal red and gold robes she was wearing. And there it is, she thought. Hakim's medical. The apothecary stood right beside the spice shop. She went inside. Inside, there were hundreds of crystal vials arranged on wooden shelves. There was a cauldron boiling with bright orange liquid. A man emerged from the depths of the shop. How can I help you? He spoke. Do you have the medicine or herbs to cure a very ill and frail person? Jasmine replied. Just as she said, a hooded man in black robes entered. What exactly do you want? Asked the shopkeeper. Listen, my father is very ill. His skin is pale, yellow, and there are some rashes. Do you have anything to cure that? Jasmine explained. You can use these herbs and this potion. No, 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 no. We have tried these herbs and this exact potion, but it did not help. Then I'm afraid I don't have anything to help you with. Oh, okay, replied Jasmine, shattered. She turned and left the shop. Oh no, what will I do now? How will my father heal? Jasmine, dejected, was walking across the street. Miss, wait! A voice from behind called out. Jasmine turned to see it. It was the person in black robes. I can help you to cure your father, he said. But how? And who are you? A confused Jasmine replied. He showed his hand, which had a golden ring with a small crystal embedded. He twisted it. There were golden sparks and the wind blew. I am Mustafa, the sorcerer. and I know that you are the princess. I can help you to cure your father if you're willing to do what I did. Jasmine was flabbergasted by the sorcerer's magical ring. She took a while to recover and then replied, "Okay, but what do I have to do?" "Follow me, princess," said the sorcerer. Jasmine was wondering, who is this sorcerer and his magical ring? Mustafa guided her through the streets, out of the city in the desert, towards a huge, sinister cave. The sun had set and it was night time. The deep abyss lay there with a faint, milky yellow light originating from within the cave. Jasmine and Mustafa were standing near the mouth of the cave. Jasmine was nervous. My magical ring had powers, but not powerful enough to cure a person entirely. But there is a wonderful oil lamp somewhere within this cave. It has powerful magic, enough to save the Sultan. "Do you think I'm going to go inside this cave without any flaming torch or support?" said Jasmine. "Here is my ring." He gives his ring to Jasmine. Jasmine wore the ring. Then Mustafa twists the ring again, and Jasmine lifts in the air and goes free falling down the cave. Ah! Jasmine falls through the cave and crashes on the hard surface below. Ouch! She regains herself, stands up, and witnesses the breathtaking inside of the cave. Bright, glistening jewels, gold coins, lapis lazuli, chests, lamps, rubies were strewn around. The most exciting of treasures anyone can imagine. The treasure was giving a golden glow, bathing everything in golden light. It was a pandemonium of jewels and precious stones. Now for the lamp, thought Jasmine. She peered across the vast treasures to spot a lamp. Across the lamp, over a towering heap of coins, stood a silvery white oil lamp. That must be the lamp. She made her way to the heap and climbed her way to the top. She slipped over the smooth coins halfway, falling with her back towards the ground. Just before she would crash, a carpet swirled around her and she landed on the carpet. She was on a floating carpet. It is the magical carpet, she thought. It was adorned with dainty floral designs and was made out of the finest silk. The carpet flew her to the top of the pile and she grabbed the lamp. Then, with the help of the carpet, she flies to the top of the cave. While giving the lamp to Mustafa, he tries to snatch it away and double crosses Jasmine. He manages to get the ring back, but she gets hold of the lamp. The sorcerer enchants a spell using his ring, causing the cave to collapse on itself, sealing Jasmine and the carpet inside. Jasmine gets tensed. Her sweaty, nervous hands rub the lamp in her palms. A mammoth genie projects out of the lamp. "I am Aladdin, the genie of the lamp. You may make your wish." Jasmine gazes at the marvelous genie. The genie's height spans across the cave. He had a Mediterranean blue color, luminescent pearl eyes, a chiseled torso, and was wearing bright robes. "My wish?" asked a perplexed Jasmine. "I'm bound to grant wishes to someone who rubs the lamp," says the genie. "Oh, I can wish. Please get me and the carpet out of this cave, back to the palace." "Wish granted," said Aladdin. He cast a spell, and there was a whirlpool of wind and magic which engulfed the princess and the carpet. They got transported to the palace with the genie dissolving back in the lamp. This lamp is indeed magical, Jasmine thought. I can use this to cure my father. As Princess Jasmine lay on her bed in the palace, she gently caressed the outline of the lamp with her finger. The carpet lay on the bed beside her. She rubbed the lamp again. The genie reappeared. "Aladdin, I want you to cure my father so that he is healthy and fit for the rest of his life." "As you wish, princess." Aladdin casts a spell again and dissolves into the lamp. Jasmine, with the carpet at her heels, rushes into the sultan's quarters to check on her father. She sees that all of his yellowness has gone, the rashes have disappeared, and he is sitting up straight, looking brighter and healthy, smiling. "Hello, Jasmine, my beloved daughter." "Father!" gasps Jasmine as she runs to hug her father. The magical carpet wraps itself around the father and daughter too. "Oh, I see this is your new friend, Jasmine." "Yes, father, it is the magical carpet. I'm so happy to see you healthy and happy again. Thanks to Aladdin the genie and the magical lamp," exclaimed Jasmine. "Magical carpet, the genie, lamp? What are you talking about, Jasmine?" It is a long story, father. But before I tell you the story, there's something I have to do. She rubs on the lamp again. The genie reappears. The Sultan got astounded by the presence of the mighty genie. Aladdin, thank you for curing my father. You deserve to be free. I wish for you, the genie, to be free from the constraints of this oil lamp and be a free, independent man again, says Jasmine. Thank you, princess, says Aladdin. Then he casts a spell and transforms into a young, handsome man wearing bright robes. And so goes the tale of princesses, magical carpets, genies, and sorcerers in the mystical land of Maghreb. Thank you.
That was an amazing performance by Hassas. You did really well. Thank you so much for performing. So our judges, would you all like to give any feedback?
Shall I go?
Yeah.
Esas?
You go
Yeah.
first.
All right. Esas, I've been doing old style, just writing my. So yeah, Esas, I thought your language skills were tremendous, in the sense that your vocabulary is probably the finest I've seen in this contest so far. I love the twist of the genie being a chiseled Aladdin kind of character. I do think there could have been more of a twist towards the ending, rather than just that she rubbed the Aladdin's thing and it he got free and that was it. But apart from that, I wanted to say it was very descriptive and I really enjoyed that. I like reading anything that uses a lot of wordplay, and you did do that. In terms of delivery, you were confident. You can work on your body language and expressions a little bit. Volume and clarity was great. And yeah, that's about it from me.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome.
You twisted it really well. And I agree with Aparna's talk about the body language because some expressions could have enhanced that. And you have a really good vocab. So keep reading and writing. I think that adds up. I like the choice of words in your written part also, and today also it reflected well. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hassas and the judges. So now heading over to participant number 2, we have Vansh Agarwal. So Vansh, you may proceed.
Yeah. Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the story I selected is Aladdin. In the town of Agrabah, there lived Aladdin. He did odd jobs around the town, barely managing to earn enough to feed himself and his mother. But tonight, fate had something else in store for him. For tonight had the potential to turn around his life forever. Are you serious? Can you really make me that rich? Aladdin asked, staring in disbelief at the man in front of him. Jafar never lies. Just do one task for me, and I'll give you more wealth than you can ever use. That will surely help catch the eye of the princess, don't you think? How, how do you know about her? He found himself at a loss for words. Jafar's serpentine eyes seemed to stare into his soul, entrancing him with visions of wealth and fame. A sharp tug on his clothes brought him back to his senses. Abu, his loyal monkey, tugged at his shirt, shaking his head from side to side. Aladdin seemed to instantly understand what it meant to say. Tell me more about this job. It almost seems too good to be true. It's nothing too difficult. I'll take you to a cave. You have to go in and fetch an oil lamp for me. That's all. Now, are you going to stop wasting my time? Or should I find a guy who doesn't rely on a monkey to make his life choices? Much to Abu's dismay, Aladdin agreed to follow Jafar's plan. Meanwhile, Princess Jasmine nervously strolled in the royal palace, occasionally shifting her gaze to see her kingdom bathing in moonlight. Her father, the Sultan, walked alongside her. Have you decided which one of the suitors you want to marry? Father, for the last time, I don't want to get married. Enough. We have had the discussion too many times. Be grateful that I'm giving you the freedom to choose who you want to marry. But no, either you select one of the princes by the end of this week, or I'll choose one for you. This is my order as the Sultan, and I expect you to follow it. Tears filled Jasmine's eyes as she heard her father's words echo throughout the palace. No, this can't be it. I won't give up so easily. My people need me. Agrabah needs me. Abu, relax. It'll be fine, Aladdin said, slowly making his way into the tiger-shaped cave. We just have to follow Jafar's advice and not touch anything but the lamp. Wow. The sight in the cave left him mesmerized. Piles of gold and gemstones filled the place, illuminating it with a warm glow. His eyes scanned the entire cave, unable to comprehend the sheer volume of wealth in front of him. In the center of the cave, on a stone pedestal, lay an old oil lamp, the only eyesore in the Cave of Wonders. He lifted the old lamp from its resting place. To his horror, though, the cave shook violently. Boulders came crashing down on them. Abu, who carried as much gold as he could, dropped everything and ran to Aladdin's side. They bolted towards the exit where Jafar stood. Aladdin gave him the lamp. Now, give me my payment and we'll be on our way. Sure, here you go. With a swift blow to his chest, Jafar pushed him back into the cave. Jafar never lies. He has lots of wealth in there and surely won't be able to use all of it before he dies. He swished his staff and disappeared into the darkness of night. Maniacal laughter echoed throughout the cave. Abu clawed at the now sealed entrance of the cave, hoping to get his master out. On the other side, Aladdin used whatever he could to slowly dig away his way to exit, but to no avail. Back at the palace, Jafar rubbed the oil lamp. Blue mist filled the room, and a genie appeared in front of him. Thank you for freeing me from my prison. As a reward, I'm obliged to fulfill any three wishes of yours, master. Make me the Sultan, Jafar said. The genie snapped its fingers. Jafar snickered as his black garments turned into the royal silken attire. His turban transformed into the crown. Guards, arrest anyone loyal to the former Sultan and throw them in the dungeons. It's time to clean up. One by one, the guards arrested all the members of the royal family, starting with the Sultan himself. Jasmine, who still roamed in the corridors, heard this commotion and hid herself in the armory. Taking sense of the situation unfolding in her kingdom, she gave up her royal garments and decked herself in battle armor. She took a war horn and managed to escape the palace. Hiding from all her pursuers, she made her way to the marketplace. She blew into the war horn with all her might. Crowds of people woke from their slumber and gathered at the source of the noise. People of Agrabah, you have enjoyed countless peaceful nights under the safety of the crown. But tonight the crown itself is endangered. I, Princess Jasmine, request you to fulfill your duty to the crown and seize control. It's your time to fight. Fight not for the Sultan, but fight for a better future for yourself. Her words filled the people with rage. They gathered whatever tools they could and stormed the royal palace. The once peaceful night now erupted with screams of chaos. Jafar's rule ended just as soon as it began. Seeing the number of people, the soldiers just gave up and let them enter the royal palace. With a single slash from the prince's blade, his lifeless head lay on the ground. She summoned the genie from the lamp in Jafar's hands. You are my new master and are entitled to three wishes. Choose them wisely. Jasmine thought for a while. First, I wish the people of my kingdom always have enough to feed themselves every day. No one should sleep hungry and no one should have to beg for food. This should be true for ages to come. With a snap of his fingers, the genie imbued the lands with fertility. Crops flourished and rivers flowed joyfully throughout the kingdom. Second, no ruler, whether our own or from another land, should be able to harm our people. There should always be peace throughout our kingdom. The genie again snapped his fingers. Nothing tangible happened, but Jasmine knew the future of the people was secured. Third, I free you from your predicament. You're free to live in this world as a mortal, and on behalf of our people, I thank you for securing our future. The genie took on a human form. Devoid of all his power, he thanked the princess for her kindness. The Sultan was brought to tears by his daughter's actions. Please forgive me, I was wrong. You are fit to be the Sultan. No prince can ever be suitable for you. He turned his attention to the crowd gathered in front of the palace. People of Agrabah, I'm grateful for your loyalty. Rejoice, for you have a new queen. All hail Sultana Jasmine. The crowds erupted into cheer. Long live the queen. Under the rule of Jasmine, the nation prospered to new heights. People lived freely and happily. As for Aladdin, his greed brought him nothing but trouble. And that's it.
Wow, once that was a really brilliant story. So let's ask the judges.
I once it Yeah, it was a nice story, and I like how you have introduced the theme of greed and how women can take over the legacies. So that was something I really found intriguing yesterday too. And apart from that, I think since your voice modulation is already intact, what you can start gripping on in your further stories you write is also start using the different kind of visual imageries. It will make your stories more alive because your one part you have already hacked is the voice modulation. So I think that would be like the next step up. So that's the thing. That's it from my side.
Thank you.
All right, Vansh. Okay, I have a lot of feedback for you. First of all, I thought you were very, very good. Um, did you, by any chance, had you actually rattled the story? Like, had you learnt it, or were
No,
you
I
reading?
haven't.
Were you
I
reading?
was reading it, yeah.
You were reading.
Yeah,
Okay,
I was
because I
reading,
was
yeah.
going to say, wow, if you learnt it, then that was, that was a lot of learning to do. So yeah, I thought you had some very nice descriptive language, and I think I maybe I defer a little bit from Anshu on this. I do think you used certain figures of speech like personification, which really stood out for me. For example, the serpentine tongue, was it, or something
The
like that?
serpentine eyes.
Right, serpentine eyes and things like that. I enjoyed the way you played with your language there. Another place where I think you had a distinct advantage was that you did good dialogue, in the sense that the dramatic effect of your piece was increased by the way you effectively used dialogue. You also had excellent syntax of all the entries I've seen so far. You were probably the only person who did not meander between tenses. So one of the things when I was judging my set of stories that came to me is that almost everybody went between tenses, and this is something that I find happens a lot when you're writing a narrative story, is that you tend to go from past continuous or past perfect to present continuous. So for example, you go from he did xyz to he is doing xyz, or he has done xyz. So and this going back and forth, in fact, I think even Asas did that in a scene in the middle. I immediately picked up on that, and I do think most of the other participants do fall for that. So if any of you is planning on taking up writing professionally, that is the first thing that a good editor will pick out for you, is the way you use your tenses, right? In the way you use your past, present, and future tenses. Then you, on the other hand, Vansh, did not mix your tenses, which for me is a big up for you, because that is a great storytelling skill. Also, I thought that you had a superb feminist take on the whole tale. It was extremely progressive. It's hitting all the right politically correct buttons right now. So that's great. You've got your, pulse right there. And I loved the wishes that Jasmine had. And also, can I tell you, I love the fact that Aladdin remained in the cave. I think that's awesome. It was spot on for me. So I love how Aladdin's greed was rewarded in that way. So on the whole, Vansh, big ups from me. You did a great job. Well done. Yeah. Also, your confidence and flow was good. Your body language and expression was good. And of course, you had good volume, good throw to your voice. You can do a little bit more of the expression. It'll come with practice. But yeah, you're a good storyteller and you're a good story writer for sure.
Thanks a lot.
Good job.
Good job, Vansh. Thank you, judges, for your feedback. So next up, we have Hewlett Alvarez.
Hi, am I clearly audible?
Yes, Hewlett.
Okay, so before I begin, I would just like to say good evening to the judges, my friends, classmates, everyone here. And the two tales that I heard were really nice. And I think the feedback the judges gave were very nice, like very helpful. So, yes, the tale I will be reciting is about my friend here, Pinocchio. So we've all heard that story when we were younger about the boy who lied and his nose grew out. And the only way it could be restored was the fairy in that story made it go back to normal. But I took a different take on it. So I'm going to be reciting Pinocchio, a modern day spin off. Geppetto was tired. It was hard enough being a toy maker who makes wooden toys in this day and age, where brightly colored plastic toys reigned with an iron grip. But being a toy maker who lived in his studio on the outskirts of New York City just did not seem glamorous anymore. He made a meager living by carving toys and trinkets out of wood. But as time progressed, it was getting harder to cover the costs of living near the Big Apple. Paying the rent for his studio home alone was becoming close to impossible every month. Enough is enough, Geppetto thought to himself. If I don't make at least one commission this month, I'm going to throw in the towel. I'll pack up my few possessions, surrender the studio, and go where the wind takes me. I'm eventually going to be homeless, so I might as well save what little money I have. The next day, after a restless night, Geppetto made himself a bowl of oatmeal and was randomly scrolling through posts on Facebook when he suddenly saw singer and fashion icon Rihanna is expecting her first baby with ASAP Rocky. He also read that Rihanna would be attending a charity art show at the Empire State Building exactly a month from today. Geppetto saw this as his golden ticket opportunity. I'm going to use my savings and book a display at this show. I'll make a beautiful puppet out of the best wood I have. And if I'm lucky, my work might just catch her eye, he exclaimed excitedly. Geppetto got down to work. He brought out his finest log of pine wood and began carving. He carved and chiseled, creating a puppet with likeness to a human boy. It took him almost 3 weeks, but he was finally done. Sitting in front of him, in his own tiny chair, was a puppet that looked startlingly human. Geppetto chuckled. I guess I did a great job painting him. I think I'm going to call him Pinocchio. He started to clean up when suddenly he heard a strange voice. He looked over to his workbench to see the puppet talking. Hello, old man, the puppet cheekily called out. Geppetto was astonished. He thought, the fumes from the paint must be making me imagine things, cause puppets from wood cannot talk. When suddenly the puppet walked over and tugged at his shirt. Old man, who am I, and what is this place? The puppet asked Geppetto. Despite the shock, Geppetto replied, You're a puppet named Pinocchio. And this is my studio. I created you from a log of wood. Pinocchio pondered for a while and then spoke. That's cool. So, am I your son? Geppetto, still confused, shrugged. Since I made you, I guess I am your father. I am Geppetto, and I make wooden toys for a living. As the day of the art show came closer, Geppetto's heart grew heavier. What good father would parade his son around like a toy on sale? It was too late for him to start a new project. Finally, Geppetto decided he was only going to display his toys and hoped it would be enough to draw attention to his work. As he walked around his studio, collecting toys that he could put up on display, Pinocchio waltzed into the studio, happily bouncing a rubber ball. Oh, where did you get that ball? Geppetto questioned him. Some boys in the area were playing, and they gave it to me. To the puppet's surprise, his nose grew out a couple inches in front of his face. Horrified, he shrieked, Father, what happened to my nose? Geppetto himself didn't understand what happened. He asked Pinocchio again, Where did you get that ball? I think it did something to you. Father, I told you, the boys gave it to me, wailed Pinocchio. To his horror, his nose grew out even longer. The puppet began rolling on the floor, bawling. I'm sorry. No one gave me the ball. I saw the boys playing, and when they weren't looking, I took it. Geppetto frowned, wondering how was it possible for his nose to grow every time he lied. Come here, boy. Maybe I can fix that. Pinocchio ran into his father's arms. Does it hurt when I do this? He asked Geppetto as he lightly grazed the saw on the puppet's nose. No, father, it doesn't hurt at all. Geppetto sawed harder. How about now? Father, I can't feel a thing. Geppetto stepped back to examine Pinocchio's now normal sized nose with a long piece of wood that he just cut off in his hand. I guess this is what happens when you're not truthful. I think it's intended to be your punishment, but I wouldn't see it that way. Pinocchio looked at his father, extremely puzzled. Father, I don't understand. Doesn't it mean I shouldn't tell lies? Geppetto giggled. Dear boy, don't be so naive. I would like to think of this as a way for us to get all the free pine wood we could ever dream of. From today onwards, I want you to lie as much as you can. Sing, my canary, sing those beautiful lies. May every word that leaves your mouth be as dishonest as it can be. So from that day onwards, Pinocchio cheerfully lied like his life depended on it. Geppetto's saw cut more wood in a day than it did since the day he purchased it. Geppetto fashioned the wood from Pinocchio's nose into an intricate crib and decided that it was going to be the main display at the art show. The day of the art show came around, and Geppetto felt as if the universe had smiled upon him and bathed him in good fortune. The beautiful crib he made caught Rihanna's eye, and Geppetto became famous as the toy maker who not only made the crib but also a variety of toys for one of the world's most popular singers' babies. Word spread around about the unique and special pine Geppetto used to make his toys, and before he knew it, he was receiving commissions from people from all over the world. Everyone had to have one of his beautiful pine trinkets. Life was suddenly so comfortable for Geppetto. All his financial troubles were now non existent. Soon, every inch of his studio was covered with the toys he designed for people. Geppetto decided it was time for him to upgrade to a better workspace. So, with his newly acquired wealth, he bought a much larger studio in the city with a gallery attached so he could proudly display his creations. Geppetto also made sure Pinocchio lived like a little prince. The puppet had a room of his own, along with a closet stuffed with shirts and suits made from the finest silk in the world. To an observer, it would look as if the wardrobe belonged to a child of royal descent. No desire of his ever went unsatisfied. Pinocchio studied in one of the world's best private schools and soon was smart and skilled enough to take over his father's workshop. Years passed and Geppetto grew older. Soon he announced his retirement from the toy making business and handed the reins over to his son. Eventually, his health deteriorated and Geppetto lay on his deathbed with Pinocchio by his side. While Geppetto was sad that his son would never get a chance to live and love like a human, he took comfort in the fact that he tried to be the best father he could have ever been. Son, he whispered, beckoning Pinocchio closer. Pinocchio leaned in. What is it, father? Geppetto looked at him with tears in his eyes. Son, I want you to know, even though I didn't show it, I didn't feel good when I encouraged you to be dishonest. What kind of father does that? Pinocchio looked his weak father straight in the eyes and said, the kind of father who loves his son. Geppetto lay back and sobbed softly. Son, you don't need to say that to make me feel better about myself. I wasn't saying that to make you feel better. We know that's the truth because my nose didn't grow. It's the truth, plain and simple. Sometimes it's not a bad thing to lie for the people you love. Geppetto exhaled, feeling like a huge weight had been lifted off his shoulder. I guess I wasn't too bad a father, he chuckled softly. No, you weren't, old man, Pinocchio whispered softly, holding his father's hand. As his soul silently left his body, in a bed made out of pine wood, there lay the man Pinocchio loved so dearly, with a faint smile on his face. The end.
That was an amazing performance you led. And also, I love the drawing that you showed in the start. It's very cute. Uh, very pretty. Judges,
Oh my god, can you do that again? I'm so sorry. I just made a screenshot. You show the drawing again.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear you. Yeah, I have this drawing. I'm not that great an artist, so I traced it, but I painted it.
uh, that's really cute.
I
That's
love
very
it.
cute, Juliet.
Anshu, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, so first, I loved the uniqueness in all the entries I read. I found this one the most unique. Your take was really interesting. Secondly, how you added this small details like he having a bowl of oatmeal and how he moved to a larger studio. So this way we could imagine what all you were narrating in like in the written part and as well as now that you're performing it. And even the voice switches and the modulation, that was quite gripping. It's quite a unique story. I loved it.
Thank you.
Over to you, Aparna.
Thanks. Yulette, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Absolutely.
Yulette, you are unique. I think, wow, you're already there, my friend. You should be doing this professionally, as in story writing and performing. What really stood out for me is how you introduced yourself before you started speaking. And this is one of the key things when you perform professionally is if you try to establish a connect with your audience rather than just launching it at the tail, that will always stand you in good stead because people will pay more attention to you before you start speaking. And you did that immediately off the bat. So that's a plus for me. And the second thing was the visual aid that you used, the little cutout of Pinocchio. Yeah, that's great. So big ups for that. In fact, I do a poetry performance as well, where I use cutouts of every scene, from the story, and I actually have funny little cutouts that I hold up on a on a drawing board, and it always gets people very excited about the story. So I think we think alike. I think fantastic. Also, I think you are a very, very natural and very talented storyteller and story writer. What can I say? Right from the modern day take on him living in the Big Apple to, oh my God, I love Rihanna and ASAP Rocky, and how the Nosewood, I was calling it Nosewood by the end of it. The Nosewood ended up as the crib. I was like, this is superb. It is excellent. You can just imagine you doing like a really twisty take on Netflix and it being made into this really, my kind of storytelling, let me tell you. And I thought your dialogue was excellent. It was crisp. I loved the bits of irony in there. I loved the bits of your humor, which were like really subtle, but they came through. um I loved your turn of phrase, things like cheerfully lied like his life depended on it. It's the kind of language I would use. I think that's beautiful. It's a fantastic take on Geppetto. And of course, what I do, I think it's truly whimsical. What you've done to this tale is truly made it even more whimsical, which is difficult to do with a story like Pinocchio, but you've really done it so well. I think what you have really brought out is how if truth takes the back seat, it's very much our current reality, and like an influencer lifestyle, which is all about the good stuff, and you lie, and you're always on the make, and you're always hustling, and how that's not necessarily a bad thing. And at the end of it, how Pinocchio's emotion for Geppetto is the real thing, and how I loved the ending about how his nose didn't grow, and we knew he was telling the truth. So, and you don't lie. You can tell small white lies to the people you love. And I think you've nailed it. I have nothing else to say except to say you really nailed it, and fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Like, actually, initially, I was going to make Geppetto like the wood version of Jeff Bezos, because he has like an unlimited supply of wood. But the original story, it's a wholesome story, and in
Right.
that Geppetto remains poor. He's a wholesome father, but he still
Yeah.
remains poor. So
Yeah.
I just decided, you know what, you're going to be rich today.
Yeah, it's actually quite why I like Pinocchio is very layered in very different ways, and I think you've added a completely different perspective to it. It's fantastic. I also think it's very important for a writer to be updated on current affairs and current, the basically the way the world is going in terms of trends. And I think you've just nailed that. Just that ASAP Rocky and Rihanna and that crib that just did it for me. Superb.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck. Good luck. I hope you pursue this.
I'll
Apart
try.
from being an engineer.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, thank you so much for your feedback, judges, and thank you, Gillette, for your performance. And next up, I would like to call Samiksha Verma to present her narration.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Good evening.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is having an amazing day. Had an amazing day. It's a Tuesday, so how amazing can it be? Anyways, my story is Beauty and the Beast. This is a take I wished I saw in fairy tales, but I didn't. So I read this quote: if you cannot find something that you like to read, write it. So that is something I've done here. A little side note, I'm not a singer. So, and there is going to be a segment of singing here, and I will try to sing it. Please do not judge my voice. It is not of a singer. So I'll begin. Beauty and the Beast. Belle was furious. It had been a week since she was captured, a week since she met her father. And although everyone, including Lumiere, the Candle, and Coxford, The clock were amazing. The fact remained that she had been captured. And the supposed beast who captured her refused to show its face. All Belle had seen was a tall, furry creature with a long veil and a hood that covered its entire face. It had a very rough voice and a bushy tail that resembled a feather duster. There was no doubt that she was being treated like royalty. Madame Godrope, provided her with the finest silk every day, and Mrs. Potts made sure that she eats the most luxurious meals. But still, she missed home. Little Chip had told her about the curse, about how their highness, as everyone in the castle called the beast, needed to fall in love before the rose shed its petals, about how the beast refused to meet anyone, about how if the beast didn't fall in love, everyone will be stuck in their current forms forever. She felt bad for everyone and wanted to do something about it, but the beast refused to meet her or even talk to her. But Belle had a plan. She knew the only way she could get home was if she found someone who could fall in love with the beast and break the curse. And so her plan was put into action. First course of action was to make the beast come out of the room it shut itself into. According to Cogsworth, the beast never came out. So Belle needed some reason to make it come out. And it seemed that the world was on her side because that night it snowed. So Belle asked Madame Gordeau for a warm coat for the beast and requested Mrs. Potts for some hot chocolate. She set the coat in front of the beast's room and set out with a cup of hot chocolate. She made her way through the snow while singing. She made sure that she walked around the beast's window and sang her heart out. There's something sweet and almost kind, but it was mean and coarse and unrefined. And I know in my heart that it is dear, but so unsure that I wonder why I didn't see it before. The beast, who had been staring at a fireplace, suddenly perked up. It had never heard a voice so inviting, so pure. It got up from the couch, and for the first time since forever, it stepped out of its room. Without much thought, it picked up the coat and ran out of the castle towards the voice. There it saw Belle sitting in the snow, singing. She looked up and offered the cup of hot chocolate with a smile. Without a word, the beast sat beside her, ignoring the hot chocolate. Belle realized that all Beast wanted was for her to sing, and so she sang throughout the afternoon. From there began their new friendship. Every morning, the Beast would sit next to her after her breakfast, and Belle took that as a request to sing. She would sing a few lines, and then both of them sat in silence until Belle felt like singing again. The beast would follow her everywhere: the library, the garden, the kitchen. It would just stand in a corner and wait for her to sing. And just before dinner, Beast would disappear into its room again. Belle never knew if the beast actually liked her singing because its face was always covered. And except for the very occasional sing, it never said anything. But Belle still loved the time they spent together. The beast would accompany her all day. Sometimes they would sit in the porch and look at the beautiful scenery. Belle had gotten so used to the beast that it forgot the reason she wanted to befriend it was so that she could go home. And then the day arrived. Beast seemed very happy today. It got a bunch of roses for Belle and gave them to her with a rough, "For you." But its tone seemed friendly. It didn't sit well with her that day. Oh, I'm very sorry. It didn't sit with her that day. Rather, it dropped her off at her room where Mrs. Potts informed her enthusiastically. "Your Highness wants to prepare something special for you. Get dressed." Hearing this made butterflies erupt in Belle's stomach. She loved spending time with the beast, and thinking that Beast was preparing something for her made her more excited. That evening, the beast knocked on Belle's door, and when she opened the door, she saw that the beast was dressed in a similar outfit. Just it was wearing yellow trousers instead of her flared skirt, and a long veil covered its face. It astonished Belle that how could she like spending time with someone whose face she had never seen. The beast gently escorted her to the dining room where she had a hearty meal but realized that the beast wasn't eating anything. And when she questioned why, it just looked away. Little Chip told her, Your Highness doesn't eat in front of anyone because Your Highness does not want to take the veil off. Belle felt bad but quickly pushed her sadness away. Maybe when the beast trusted her enough, the veil will come off. Then they went to the ballroom, which had been lit by Lumiere and his friends. Soft music started playing, and the beast gently led them both in a slow dance. They were having a pleasant evening, enjoying each other's presence, while slowly dancing to the music when suddenly Cogsworth ran into the room with a panicked expression. Your Highness, our castle has been attacked. The beast immediately ran outside the door, with a worried Belle following them. They went to the castle's highest watchtower to see who had attacked them, where Belle immediately recognized the person in front of the crowd that was trying to break open their front door. Gaston, she gasped. When the beast turned to look at her, she said, He lives in my village and has been harassing me to get married to him. He must have interrogated father and must have found out that I am here. She saw the beast clench its fist and erupt a loud roar. People who had gathered around the castle ran away after listening to that roar, all except Gaston, who instead of running had pointed his gun towards the beast and shot a bullet. The beast let out a scream of pain as the bullet tore into its chest. It fell to the ground along with him fell Belle. No, she screamed. You can't die. Not when we just started knowing you. Not when we just started knowing each other. Not when I just started liking you. It seemed as if her tears would never stop as she gently held him. A strong gust of wind uh, blew the veil off the beast's face, and for the first time, Belle saw its face. The beast, who was barely breathing, gently held Belle's face and whispered, Thank you for everything. Now you are truly free. Hearing this made Belle hold on tighter and weep more tears. I love you, she whispered, holding on to the beast's lifeless body. The moment she uttered those words, something happened. Suddenly, there was bright light around them. Loud footsteps echoed around her, and when she turned around, she saw four strangers there: two men, two women, and a little boy. The moment the little boy saw her, he ran towards her. Belle, you saved us. Belle immediately recognized the boy as little Chip. Confused, she turned around again. There, instead of the beast's lifeless body, stood a beautiful young woman. Mrs. Potts, Madame Gardot, Lumiere, and Cogsworth all bowed in front of the woman. Your Highness, they greeted her. The woman smiled at them and gently brought Belle on her feet. Thank you, Belle, for turning us all back. And thank you for loving a beast like me. Belle pulled the lady in Belle pulled the lady, who she later identified as Your Highness Amelia, into a hug while everyone around them rejoiced. Even today, if you pass by Highness Amelia's castle, you will most probably find two ladies sitting under a tree, with the shorter one singing while the other lays on her lap enjoying the song. You might also see Belle's father running around telling Cogsworth about his latest inventions. As for Gaston, no one ever heard about him ever again. Not that anyone cared. In the end, all that mattered was Highness Amelia and Queen Belle, who ruled the kingdom together and lived happily ever after. The end. I am very sorry for all the fumbling. I am a little scared. I'll be very honest, this is my first time doing something like this.
It's totally okay. That's all right.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
That's all right, Samiksha.
It was a
That
great
very
performance.
beautiful.
It was amazing. And the singing bits, yeah, they were good too. So don't worry about anything. It's all fine. The judges, your responses?
Yeah, so I understand with Aparna, it's fine if I go first?
Please do, Anshu.
Yeah, so I understand how the noises and everything affects the mind frame. So that's all right. So what I'll suggest is, I understand disturbances, but to get more flowy, like how it restricts in between when you are maybe nervous or like just reading out. So even if you don't memorize it, like just some time before performing it, even if it's a fresh piece or an old piece, just try reading through 4 or 5 times, not a skim read, or like a detailed slow read. So would help you get flowy even if there's some disturbance or you're just nervous in the moment. I like the singing part. It's little bring the different take, like it just enhances the uniqueness part, so that's nice. The story was structured, so that is one thing. So even the voice modulation was nice, so that's what I'll say. Like it's just like you need to improve on the flow part and how to memorize the story and have a grip on the words you have written. It's just being aware of what story you've written, what words you've used, and even being aware of the visual imagery, just more awareness around it. Over to you, Aparna.
Okay. Yeah. So, Samiksha. So let me start. Hang on, I've got some detailed feedback right here. I'm an old person who writes all sorts of feedback everywhere. Yeah, so Samisha, the first thing that stood out to me was that again, you introduced yourself. You did a little bit of banter where you were very effective trying to introduce a little bit of humor there about Tuesday and, you know, it being Tuesday and how good can Tuesday be. I totally get that sentiment, you know, everybody would get that. That's great ups to you for that. You were quite nervous, I could tell. There was a little bit of a bass quiver going on there. All I can say is that will go away with time and with practice, my friend. So don't worry about it. There are still times where I am, actually all times I'm a quivering wreck. You just learn how to hide it, basically. It's okay. You're turning to jello inside, but on the outside, you're like, hey. Again, huge big ups for coming back from that auto wala. You can go out and kill him later. Excellent. You're muted, Samiksha, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go do something about the auto.
Yeah, don't worry. All the while I've been listening to these stories, I've had my 8-year-old coming and saying all sorts of things about his bedtime. So, you know, but I've been keeping my attention here. So I understand what that feels like to have multiple things going on. And again, the way you bounced back from that was excellent. It's the mark of a good performer to not, you know, to take that pause at that time and to kind of play it out instead of speaking over it, which is what, you know, you initially might want to say, okay, let me keep going, but that you stopped and you waited and you smiled and you connected with us because of that smile. That's great. That's, you know, another great point. And let me know if I'm going on and on, judges, because I'm giving very detailed feedback. I always find that really helps, you know, me when I get detailed feedback. So yeah, so Samiksha, what stood out for me was how you started your story immediately with the bell was furious. That was excellent because you immediately went to the mind, you know, to the mind space, the mental state of the protagonist. And, you know, that always leaves the reader hooked because you're like, who is Belle and why is she curious? So that was a good starting line. It creates drama and curiosity immediately. And you do have a little bit of a problem with your tenses. They do meander. You definitely need to work a little bit on your grammar and your syntax. It has a you have good usage of dialogue and that adds to the dramatic effect. But again, definitely you can you know, maybe read a little bit more and your vocabulary can do with a little bit of an upgrade that way. What I really liked was the unusual ending. I loved how you managed to keep the gender of the beast hidden from us by using the pronoun it. I wonder what the beast feels like by having that pronoun used for them. And also, I like anything which has an LGBTQIA twist to it. So that was excellent without going overboard and drenching it in morals. You know, that came out very, very well. And yeah, good job.
Thank you so much, judges. I'll definitely keep all of these things in my mind next time.
Good luck. You did a great job.
So moving further, we have Sharon Sebastian.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, Sharon.
Okay. Good evening, judges and all my classmates that are present over here. I'm Sharon Sebastian, and I'm going to be reciting a tale that I wish I had read when I was younger. Now, a little behind the scenes as to why I chose this tale. Now, I've chosen the tale Beauty and the Beast. Now, and the reason why I'm sharing this perspective is because I wish while listening to my story, you can get an understanding as to why I chose this. So while growing up, the only three tales which I distinctly remember, because I was a huge Disney princess fan, was Sleeping Beauty, Beauty and the Beast, and Cinderella. And in most of them, always the princesses used to rely on someone else. Always, their opinions used to never matter. And a very distinct memory that I can remember is asking my mom, why is she waiting? Why is she waiting for someone else to come? So with that perspective in mind, this competition gave me an opportunity of basically rewriting a classic tale, and it's something that I wrote, which I wish I would have had probably about 10 years ago. So here it is. Once upon a time, there lived a happy yet crazy family consisting of Maurice and his three daughters, Clarice, Amara, and Belle. Maurice was a rich merchant whose only concern in the world was that his daughters live a happy life. The only exception was Belle, the youngest and the only one who didn't receive her mother's physical love. There was more of an overprotectiveness towards her, which came off as breathing down her neck. One fine Saturday, he received the most terrible news that one of his ships carrying precious cargo was lost, and that as the shipment belonged to a prince, he and his family had to hide away till matters settled down, as in those days, taking the women of the family in replacement of a loss was very common. So that very evening, he forced everyone to pack and shifted to a small hut in the middle of the forest. The next few weeks dragged along, with both the older sisters cribbing and complaining of the difficulties, except Belle, who just kept on concentrating on her studies. One fine day, her father received good news that he had to go out of town for a week, and their life would be magically back to normal. To celebrate such happiness, he promised each of his daughters whatever they wished when he returned. Now, both the older sisters wished for extravagant dresses, but Belle, knowing that her father was again sending her to London for further studies, asked for that. He immediately knew that it was one way of Belle's way of telling her dreams, but due to his own protectiveness, he told her to ask for something else. And so she asked for a rose so she can put it on her mother's grave when he comes back. He was disheartened because the one thing he can't give is the one thing she wants, freedom of her own choice. Without settling all these matters, he left with the promise that once he returns, he will discuss this issue, as seeing her upset killed him from inside. While returning, he realized that the only gift that was left to buy was bells. As it was winter, he traveled further south, only to come across a desolate castle with thick bunches of ivy growing around the walls and the weeds as high as a castle dome. He was just about to enter the castle in hopes of shelter for the night, only to find different varieties of roses in the garden. For Belle, he started plucking one by one, not realizing a forlorn creature standing by the door, waiting to pounce in action. The moment the father collected the bouquet and turned to head back home, his face paled as he saw the humongous creature waiting there to eat him alive. The beast just stood there and asked a simple why. Maurice couldn't do anything apart from stare as beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. He had heard tales of beasts and other creatures living alongside the race of humans, but never in his life would he have imagined this to happen. The beast was getting livid as each second passed and started walking towards him when suddenly Maurice blurted out, I have three daughters. Please let me live. These are for my youngest one. The beast just stood there and listened to the pale man's rant for about half an hour, only to snarl when he realized that he was inching backwards one step at a time. The beast roared, the man stopped. And that's when the beast gave his declaration. Bring me the youngest daughter, and I will not kill you. If she doesn't reach in the next 24 hours, consider yourself dead. Suddenly, the beast left, with Maurice standing there, with a single tear rolling down his cheek. He went home, and all daughters greeted him with happiness, but he felt despair, fear of what may happen to Belle and him at the end. When the family went out for celebration, it was only the compassionate Belle who noticed her father's sad face. After much prying, when she finally got out the truth, she was stunned. The shock initially wavered off and turned into full blown anger. How dare someone threaten her and decide on taking her away without her consent? She had decided that she would handle the matter on her own. She wasn't going to let the chauvinistic, sexist male rule over her without any consequences. The night came upon, and she was ready for the impending doom to come. The town clock struck 12, but there was no beast in sight. Belle started wondering about this, and she let her guard down, only for someone to suddenly hold her. She turned around, startled, only to crane her neck up to see the so called beast's face. The beast looked at her with adoration and amusement and said a single word, "Come." Belle stood her ground and replied with a single word too, "No." The beast started laughing, as most people would obey every command and stare at him with fear. The only exception was her. Suddenly, Maurice came as he heard laughter and realized that the beast was laughing, with Belle standing looking at him with confusion and a different emotion he couldn't decipher. The beast finally stopped and asked if he can talk to her. Maurice refused outrightly, but Belle, being the innocent, curious one, said yes, which shocked not only her, but both the men too. After much deliberation, Belle walked towards him and they walked towards the lake. Throughout the whole way, both were too deep in their own thoughts, with Belle scolding herself to say yes, and the beast trying to tell his story in the best way. When they finally sat down and Belle looked at him with her big doe eyes, the beast suddenly got nervous and started rambling about his curse, the reason why he forced her father, his castle, and the wretched witch. Belle was stunned, as this was the first time she saw a beast blushing and rambling cutely while nervous. She listened to his whole story and realized the truth that this was not who he was, but what he forced himself to be to protect himself from society's prejudice. In some ways, she could relate to this, as she has felt the pressure of society to be more social, marry, and have kids, when all she wants is to continue her dream of further studies. With both not realizing, they both spent the entire night talking to each other and getting to know each other, realizing that there was a spark between them that could not be ignored. Soon they left, and while walking towards her home, he suddenly said that he owns King's College and encouraged her to apply. Belle looked at him with a mixture of emotions, as this was the very first time someone encouraged her to follow her dreams, to be who she wants to be, regardless of what other people think. The beast went as further as to speak and convince her father, as he felt this desire to help complete all her dreams and wishes. He never felt this way before, and that brought a feeling of insecurity. And as he was leaving, and Belle saw his face down, she asked about it, only for him to say, "I'm just a beast. How can you like me and not look at me with fear when there are thousands of handsome men out there who'll do anything for you? I can't offer you anything except for my heart and my home," and turned his back towards her. Belle replied, "I don't know about thousands of men, but I can say that you're the first one to truly listen to me, to believe in me and my dreams and encourage me to go. Your love and compassion are more than what I dreamt of. I don't know about the future, But I know that if you are there, I can conquer whatever I want. Listening to this, the beast left with a smile, with Belle looking at him with a smile. The next few months went with her fulfilling her dreams of higher studies with the beast's encouragement and motivation. Despite Maurice's initial reluctance, the moment he saw his daughter happy, he was happy as well, even though it wasn't him who gave it to her. This also allowed him to bond with the beast, whose name was Maximilian as well. The love between both Belle and Maximilian grew, but they both waited till the time was right to marry and be a family, as they already were, with the beast joining a family for everything as he lost his when he was very young. This wasn't a classic love story of two people meeting and falling in love at first sight. It was more of Beauty and the Beast helping each other to be who they wanted to be and being happy, as that's what matters. Thank you.
Amazing, Sharon. That was very nice. So, judges?
You want to go first?
You go ahead.
Anshu? Oh,
You
okay.
go ahead.
Okay, Sharon, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Great. So Sharon, yeah, so what I really enjoyed was your feminist take on the whole trope. And what I think was the very important thing that you brought up, and according to me, which is so often overlooked in not just princess stories, but any stories, is the issue of consent, especially when it comes to Beauty and the Beast, the issue of consent. I've always felt that Belle had Stockholm syndrome and she fell in love with her tormentor. So, that you were the only person who actually brought that out, and that stood out for me. Um, yeah, and obviously you have a lot to say for the patriarchy, which is great. But there are certain areas I do feel that you could do a little bit of work. You have good language, you have decent sentence construction and decent grammar, but at this point of time, you definitely can work on your language skills. Maybe read a little bit more, because you are a good storyteller. And when it comes to your expressions and the way you come across, you're very confident, and you have a story to tell and you're going for it, and that's great. It would really help if your language was a little bit more juicy, and even your dialogue was a little bit more juicy. That would add to that, because the trope is great, the way you've twisted the trope is great, but it's just that the language is a little lacking yet. I love the whole King's College thing. I studied at King's myself, so I was like, oh, nice. What I would not have done, I would not have had the Beast being the because he's the owner of King's College, it feels like he's doing her a favor, and Belle only performs because of his help. And that is where the feminism becomes a little bit about the Beast having savior syndrome. And I was a little bit, if she's trying to show a true feminist, Belle should probably say, I'm going to do it on my own. And that was just me being anal about it, but that was just somewhere I felt that I would like to say that to you. The last and the most vital thing I felt, Sharon, when it came to your storytelling was good. However, the last line was not needed, where you actually stated that this is not a real traditional love story, but it is a love story, because what you're doing is stating the obvious. Let your words do the talking now. The way you've told the story, let that do the talking. It's become obvious to me through what you've said. When you state it, it's like telling somebody a joke and then telling them, ye punchline tha. Hello, this was the punchline. So don't do that the next time, because it takes away, detracts from your writing.
Okay.
All right. Overall, though, your performance was great. I loved the whole feminist trope, and great going. You have a lot of potential there. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Good on you.
And yes, I did think about the King's College, and I did think about it, but I realized this after I submitted, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Nothing that a good edit can't sort. I mean, normally it's not. Life is not a competition where you have to submit so fast. So
yeah.
So,
thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
Hi, Sharon. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct.
Yeah, Sharon. Yeah.
So I like the initial interaction, and your confidence had been stable while the performance too. So big ups on the confidence part. I agree with the Aparna's suggestion on how you need to work on more on the writing part rather than the narrating and performance, because an enriched vocabulary hooks the readers more to your story. So they imagine what you're adding, the punches, the metaphors, or anything else, like a rich ground of vocabulary. And of course, reading helps and even writing helps. We understand that this was a deadline based competition and you don't have time to go through a lot of revisits and editing part. So that's totally understandable. And of course, I love the theme of feminism, and it brings another take, like the consent part and everything. And of course, the classic thing that how heart and home is sufficient, and that is nicely touched upon. That's it. Keep writing.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you, Sharon. So we have our last contestant for today. We call upon Crystal Nandu. Over to you, Crystal.
Guys, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, so good evening, everyone here. My name is Crystal, and this is actually the first time I have shown interest in story writing and recital. So, when I first sat down to decide which tale I would select to twist, I came down to two of the options, which is Pinocchio and Aladdin. So I said, you know what? I was so confused which one to pick. Both of them are really good fairy tales. And I said, you know what? Let's just twist both of them into the same tale. And of course, I have kept Pinocchio as a center story and the protagonist here. But I also hope that you enjoy the part where Aladdin's tale finds a place in the story that I have recreated. So here goes. Pinocchio's ultimate act of love. It all started in the year 1992 when craftsman Geppetto once carved a wooden marionette, Pinocchio. So, Pinocchio was a very famous person in the kingdom of Agrabah. He had a very puckish sense of humor and he couldn't help being mischievous. All that aside, Geppetto loved him like a father and took care of him every day. He put him in the local school where kids loved being with Pinocchio. But somehow, Pinocchio felt like a misfit. He wanted to explore all the places in the kingdom, maybe some beyond the gates as well. One day, Pinocchio bunked school and instead went to the marketplace. He was astonished by the items being sold in the market. On his way in the market lanes, he bumps into Abu, a mischievous yet friendly kleptomaniacal monkey who was trying to steal apples from the nearby seller. Pinocchio introduces himself to Abu, and Abu offers him an apple. He takes the apple and bids Abu goodbye, asking him to meet him tomorrow in the same place. Pinocchio, on reaching home, shows the apple to Geppetto. Geppetto, in utter surprise, questions him on how he got that apple tagged with the marketplace sticker. Pinocchio lies to him, saying that his friends gave it to him at school. Geppetto knew something fishy was going on. So the next day, he went to the forest fairy and told her to keep a watch on Pinocchio. Pinocchio visited Abu again at the same place they first met. This time, they wandered around the kingdom, and Abu showed him the palace of Agrabah. He pointed out to the tower where Jasmine was sitting with Aladdin, Abu's partner in crime, and also the same boy who was madly in love with the Agrabah princess. Pinocchio invited Abu to his house, but Abu tells him that he would drop by some other time. Else, Jafar, the king's advisor, and the not so kind man would not spare them if Aladdin was caught alone with the princess. After all, they were merely poor kids, and Jasmine was a part of the royal family. Now, the forest fairy keeps an eye on Pinocchio the entire time and introduces herself to Pinocchio as he walks towards his house. She asks him, where had he been all this while? and Pinocchio lies again. But this time, his nose grows long, frightening him. The fairy tells him that every time he would lie, his nose would grow longer and uglier. So Pinocchio apologizes, promises the fairy that he would make amends and be a good child. And then he returns home. The next day, he goes straight to school, keeping in mind the fairy's words. Meanwhile, Jafar, the king's royal advisor and the antagonist, hears of the famous Pinocchio in the kingdom. From the very beginning, Jafar had the thought of sabotaging the kingdom and becoming the strongest sorcerer ever. In order to do so, he thinks of marrying Jasmine and getting the throne through royal blood itself. In order to entice Jasmine, Jafar goes to Geppetto's house and asks him to give him Pinocchio in exchange of 10 bags filled with gold. He told him Pinocchio would be the perfect gift for the princess and that Geppetto would not have to worry. However, Geppetto denies the offer and tells Jafar that Pinocchio is a son to him. Jafar, horribly irritated and angry, holds Geppetto by the collar and thrashes him on the floor. Geppetto is hurt badly and lies on the floor fallen. At the same time, Pinocchio returns back from school and is shocked to see Geppetto lying on the floor. Before he could help him, Jafar grabs Pinocchio, puts him in a cage, and throws the 10 bags of gold on the floor. Pinocchio looks at Geppetto from afar and sobs. Geppetto's eyes shut not long before he sees Jafar leave with his Pinocchio. Jafar manipulates Pinocchio using his sorcery and presents him to Jasmine, assuming she would be impressed by the gift he had to offer her. Jasmine, on the other hand, disapproves of the horrible act of kidnapping and scolds at Jafar for his selfishness. She takes Pinocchio and goes to her room. But Pinocchio gets on the run and escapes from the tower. He runs faster than the wind and suddenly falls into a trap all the way down onto a big cushion. To his surprise, he meets Abu and Aladdin and narrates the entire situation to them. Abu tells Pinocchio that they should visit the forest fairy and ask her for help. The two of them leave for the forest, and Aladdin bids them a safe journey while he goes and informs Jasmine about Pinocchio's whereabouts. On the way to the forest, the two of them are attacked by the famous bandits, the fox and the cat. They ask Pinocchio about the money Jafar had given, but Pinocchio lies to them, fearing that they would go and mess with Geppetto. As soon as he lies, his nose grows so long that it frightens the bandits away. Abu laughs all the way and Pinocchio smiles. The forest fairy then appears to them and she notices Pinocchio's long nose. She tells Pinocchio that if he stops lying, she would grant him a wish and transform him into a real boy. So Pinocchio accepts and asks the fairy for help. She tells him to go and fetch Jasmine and Aladdin. So putting their faith in the fairy, both of them leave for the palace. Now, meanwhile, Geppetto wakes up wounded and bruised in multiple places. As he tries to walk towards the chair, he notices a golden lamp that Jafar dropped when he stormed out of the house with Pinocchio. He takes the lamp, rubs it, and immediately a supernatural jinn appears. At first, Geppetto is completely afraid, but the genie has a friendly conversation with him. The genie tells Geppetto that he would grant him 3 wishes. So, Geppetto wishes for himself to be healed of his wounds first. After that, he makes a second wish, stating that he wants to get his Pinocchio back. So the genie grabs him in search of his little Pinocchio. Now, Pinocchio and Abu reach the palace. They secretly make it all the way to Jasmine's tower and find Aladdin and Jasmine ready to go along with them to the forest. Suddenly, Jafar enters the room and accuses Aladdin and Abu of the murder of Geppetto in exchange for 10 bags of gold. But Aladdin denies it. He grabs Jasmine and Pinocchio, and they escape through the secret passage from Jasmine's room. On the way, Jasmine catches up with Pinocchio's plight. Abu jumps down the tower step by step and meets them near the gate. The four of them make an escape to the forest. They reach the forest and start looking for the fairy, but she is nowhere to be seen. Jasmine hears strange noises from the bushes. As an eerie feeling overshadows Jasmine, Jafar suddenly comes out from the bush and grabs hold of her, threatening Aladdin that he would kill her if Pinocchio was not handed over. But guess what? Geppetto arrives and slams Jafar from behind to the ground. Jafar, however, gets hold of Geppetto and stabs him straight into the heart. He then turns towards Pinocchio to kill him, but the fairy appears just in time and captures Jafar into a lamp forever. Aladdin, Jasmine, and Abu are happy that Jafar is now gone. But Pinocchio sobs as he watched Geppetto lie lifeless on the ground. The fairy looks at Pinocchio and tells him that she could now transform him into a real boy if he wished to do so. Pinocchio wipes his tears, stands up, and tells the fairy that instead of him turning into a real boy, he would rather get Geppetto back to life. The fairy acknowledges his selfless act of love for Geppetto and breathes life into his body. Geppetto wakes up and Pinocchio runs over to hug him. Geppetto then rubs the lamp that he had all this while with him, and the genie appears once again, asking Geppetto to make his ultimate wish. So Geppetto asks the genie to turn Pinocchio into a real boy forever. And there, a handsome young boy stood before all of them. Jasmine offers Geppetto a job at the palace and asks Pinocchio to visit them whenever he wanted to. The story of Pinocchio's selflessness reached thousands in the kingdom of Agrippa. Sometimes it takes only one act of love to change a person's life forever. The end.
That was really captivating, Crystal. I love the crossover part. So maybe we can hear from the judges their feedback.
I'm sure you're going first, or?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Sure.
Yeah. So the crossover really interesting. It's like a lot of characters to visualize and brings more variety than just sticking to the central theme. And I liked how the chirpiness of the voice when you introduced Abu, so it's like it just brings another tone. The storyline was intact, and I could like visualize like the threshing on the ground and all that little bits. One thing I noted, like after the lines where you say that Jasmine disapproved the kidnapping, your voice speeded a bit. So it was the story was going at a steady pace, and then I don't know why, maybe like just in the nervousness or maybe the flow of the story, your voice speeded up. So it's like then it breaks the rhythm of the person who's listening. So that is something you can like work on, like see if it's speeding up in between or something. While practicing, you can just make a note of it. And overall, I like the theme, how there's no selfishness. There's no, they didn't fall into the trap of selfishness, and the bond Pinocchio has, like being considered like a son, and other little details. I love that. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Crystal. It's a lovely
Yes.
name.
Hi.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So Crystal, yours was actually, I think, the first story that I read. And I was like, oh my God, this is a Hindi film. There were twists and turns, and he took him into this room, and this one disappeared from there and went there. And it was interesting, but it took me like 4 reads before I could wait, who went where and did what. It was so let me tell you, what you've written is actually in effect a screenplay rather than a short story. It's how you would write a screenplay, which would basically be what action does this character do and how does this action lead to the next scene, which is what you've done. And it's a great, it's a solid screenplay. However, what you need for a short story is some element there that you can work on, which is your language, which is your syntax, your grammar is still a little bit all about the place. And definitely, again, as I say, past, present, future tense. Big, so so for example, in the last couple of lines, you said, there stood before them Pinocchio, a little boy, right? There stood before them, Pinocchio stood before them. And then in the very next line, you said, Princess Jasmine gets them to do something. So you went immediately from past perfect, stood there, to present continuous. Belle gets them, right? So from stood to gets, it's a complete leap of of your syntax, which is something that kind of jars a person when they're reading a story. Because you imagine that it would be in the same sort of vocal tone, unless you're demarcating by writing different chapters and you're changing your, you're doing different perspectives. So if you're doing first person, second person, third person narrative, then that's all right to take those leaps in your tenses. Otherwise, it's always good to stick to decide on what tense you're going with and stick with that, whether it's present continuous, present perfect, whatever it is. It was a good moral, excellent moral. The characters were very interesting, especially when you talked about Abu and all of that. It was a complete mashup, more than a twist in the tale. It was a mashup, I would say, of Pinocchio and Aladdin. Saath mein aa gaye, and they did a lot of interesting stuff together. And as I said, it was like a Hindi movie. So I really enjoyed that bit because I was like running around, oh like this, oh like that. So it was really cool. You speak very confidently. You have very good, clear diction. All I would recommend is, you perform well. All I would recommend is that maybe read a little bit more, so your syntax and your language can become, your skills can get higher, can get better. And also, in terms of the twist the tail bit, at the end of the day, Pinocchio does become a real boy, right? So it's like we touched our nose like this rather than like this. So even though the story goes to this entire arc of including Princess Jasmine, etc., etc., you do come back to the same thing, which is Pinocchio was a great little boy and he was a good boy and he meandered and then he was turned into a So I do think you did lose out on an opportunity there. You could have like really maybe twisted it a little bit more. But I'm just nitpicking. On the whole, you did a great job and I really enjoyed reading your story, and good luck.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, guys, we are done with all the contestants for today. I hope you all have enjoyed the performances as much as we did. So, I'd like to request our judges to give in their judgments and then give us the winner on the round of 49.
Okay, so hello everyone. And as the judges are deciding on who makes the cut, I would like to know that now we've got such in depth feedback from the judges. What about our qualifiers? What did y'all think of each other's pieces? If any of y'all could, unmute and say something that, stuck with y'all that y'all found outstanding. So please go ahead.
I just want to say that I love one story, like the way I've never heard anybody like not get Aladdin out of the cave at all. Like that was the first time I've heard that take on a story. And I think that's a really nice one that we did. And yeah, nice one.
Thanks a lot.
Can I just
That's
say
true.
it was like such a twist that Crystal took two stories. Like I didn't even know that was an option. We could have done something like that. So that was really cool, Crystal.
Thank you.
Crystal's story, like honestly, it was the same as what Aparna said. You have to be like concentrating very hard. Like it goes from here to here to here, and you have to be like, okay, that's where it's going. That's where it's going. Yeah. You have to concentrate really hard. It was really good. Like the amount of
It felt like a sense of how maybe my grandmother would say stories to me, and it felt like so engaging and very
I know,
comforting.
right? I know, yes.
Sweet.
And
Thank you so much.
and the best part, and I think this applies for everyone, most of y'all had this voice like podcast sort of voice, and it was so nice to hear. It was like amazing 2 hours for me. I thoroughly enjoyed.
ASMR, ASMR.
Absolutely.
Me too. I enjoyed this event a lot, and every story was like, oh yeah, I why did I never think of it? It never ceases to amaze me how us humans can come up with these ideas, and like it's really good. I really enjoy.
I really think OTT platforms should be hiring these people to, make some nice, a stepped up version of all these classics that have, over time we've understood had so much of misandry, so much of, patriarchy ingrained. And these people have done a phenomenal job, putting together so much narrative and making it absolutely progressive pieces.
And you guys, I would honestly recommend you all to keep writing, to keep like making stories. Okay, don't do it just because competition hai, humko submit karna hai, kuch to. Like I would highly encourage you all to keep on with this. It's amazing the amount that you guys did, even though we just gave you like one day to prepare. And I think you all could do much more if we gave you more time.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad we actually, unlike the traditional storytelling competition, we just asked you to, twist it and interpret it in your own way and present it. I really think, that brought out everyone's creative essence. And, I think, your love for literature really showed.
Yes. Everyone did such an amazing job. It's so difficult deciding the winners. But I think the judges are now done deciding the winners. So I would like to ask them to announce the winners.
So yeah, before we announce the winners, just want to say this has been thoroughly enjoyable for me. I do quite a few college fests, and let me tell you, you guys were so well organized. Just right from starting the WhatsApp group and making sure that all the documents were in place, everything. Full marks to the team for organizing things. Full marks for the kind of the kind of entries that came in. They were a pleasure to read. I've thoroughly enjoyed being a part of this. I'd love to meet you guys again soon in some form. And let's just go ahead and Anshu, shall we declare number one? I'm sure you guys have. I think it's pretty clear. Although it was a close contest, number one goes to Yulette Alvarez. Well done, Yulette.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Very well deserved. And now it's over to Anshu.
Any guesses who is the runner-up? Let's see some answers in the chat box. Any guesses?
Very close contest. Very, very close contest.
Okay, so without further speculation, the runner-up is Vansh Agarwal. Congratulations. And even kudos to all the performers and the entire team who organized. We really loved reading and seeing you all perform.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for both of your hard work. And thank you so much for complimenting us. We want
By
to
the
be...
way, Sharon, you were a very close third, just to let you know, because a lot of the chats, the answer said Sharon, you were a very, very close third. So
thank you
if
so
there
much.
were 3, yeah, that would have been you.
Yeah. It gets really tough to just average out, but then it's end of the day, it's grades and stuff, and it's like marks, just like life other stuff.
Absolutely.
But do keep writing, all of you. Like, keep pursuing it. And if you need any kind of help with all that, you can reach out, and we love to see you reading, writing, and any kind of inputs you need from our end.
Absolutely. You can follow us on Instagram. I'm Aparna Sanyal Writes. Anshu is on Instagram as well. Anshu,
Yeah,
what's
you
your
must
handle?
have seen the story, so I'll just drop
Right.
in the handles right away for us.
I see.
And you can reach out to us.
I'm a professional writer, so I have to put in the little plug everywhere because unless a writer doesn't propagate their own work, their books never sell. So yeah, but if you guys ever want to reach out in any way, you're such a talented bunch of writers. Any guidance, help, or whatever it is, it would be our pleasure, I'm sure.
Thank you so much, everyone. I have to say it is a pleasure actually getting the constructive feedback. Not many people give that. So I truly appreciate it. And I'm pretty sure I think all the 6 of us do appreciate that, because the true honest feedback, along with, of course, the compliments, that always works. But the constructive feedback is very helpful. Thank you so much.
But can I tell you, you guys are better. You engineering bunch are better writers than a lot of so-called liberal arts and fine arts students that I've judged before, huh? So something is going very wrong. You should flip around, and you guys should all be doing creative writing courses, doing your MFAs. What are you doing? Doing engineering and building bridges. Use your words. Words are all we have. Oh God, that was so corny. Never mind, scratch that.
I'd just like to say I was genuinely terrified when I saw the list of winners, because there were very strong contenders on that list. Like Sharon's my classmate, so I know her as a very creative person. So and even Vansh is my classmate, and he's also very creative. So when I saw that list, I was so scared but also excited, because I wanted to see. I wrote something. I want to see what unique things they think of, because no two minds think the exact same thing, right? And it was really nice to see the uniqueness, so props to y'all guys. It was a very different twist, a very unique twist, something I could have never thought of.
It's the crib that did it for me. I that crib made out of nose wood, that I'm never gonna forget that. That's unique. I love it.
Thank you.
I hope you guys keep writing.
So, not to take everyone's dinner time, I would like to call upon Lysandra to give the vote of thanks.
Okay, so before anything, I would first like to congratulate Hewlett and Bunch. Y'all are indeed an amazing, duo. And I've heard a lot about you from your classmates. Y'all are excellent in studies. And as our judges too have said that, along with engineering, y'all are absolutely even nailing the literature aspect of it. So kudos. And okay, so first and foremost, I'd like to thank all the participants for the amazing stories that they've woven. And, these are from classics. So that's all the more amazing. And it's only because of your overwhelming responses we were able to bring to you this magnificent event, all right? And y'all have really done justice to the name of our event, that is Twist the Tale. And y'all have twisted it to its finest version possible. So hats off. And I know that, I don't really remember many colleges keeping this sort of an event. So, in spite of that, you all have put your best foot forward. So amazing, amazing. And thank you so much. And most importantly, I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to our judges, Aparna ma'am and Anshu ma'am, who were kind enough to, lend us their expertise and time in order to bring forth only the best from the participants. And not forgetting the time and effort they've put into giving immensely detailed feedback that can enhance us as a storyteller. And, even add more to the storyteller's art. And then having said this, I hope all of y'all have enjoyed this wholesome event. And if y'all have, y'all need to thank our event coordinator, Shanaya Rajput, and our event volunteer, Priya Harshe, for their tireless efforts to ensure the smooth running of this event. And this was backed by the unwavering support of our HODs. And they are none other than Sushri Nadimanti and Angelica Sebastian. And I really don't know what I have done, but and as an admin, I'm really, really, really thankful to have such an amazing team. And this event has surely been a huge success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lizanne, for complimenting us as well as being the admin. You were not any less than all of us. So, guys, can we have one last picture, a screenshot? Lizanne, you're on.
Yeah, we're taking a screenshot. By the way, thanks, Lisanne, for complimenting us. You are an amazing
Deserve that,
editor.
and even more.
It was totally a team effort. Totally a team effort.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't have done without my team. Cheers to all the sleepless nights and to all the discussions and everything.
Absolutely. Late night meals till 3 a.m., making sure nothing is left to, last minute scurrying around.
Also, thank you to the judges for being so informal and, accepting our messages at literally 1 a.m.
Yeah, we're really sorry for that inconvenience, but thank you so much for being so good to us.
Not at all. Writers are vampires. We're all creatures of the night.
Sure,
same.
Nocturnal runs, in our blood, I guess. So,
Angelica, would you take the screenshot?
Yes.
Not to
Please
be
let us
biased,
know
but
when
y'all are my favorite judging panel.
Aw,
Join
thank
us
you
very
so
much.
much. Thank
Honestly,
you.
the amount of thought you put into judging is something that it's not stuff I think about when I'm reading a story. And I really
Attention to detail is
This made my day.
it was like the things that I could never even think about was, put forth. I was like, my goodness, this is like so detailed.
It was like that for me. Okay, so
This is why I do it, for all the praise.
Wow.
I'm kidding. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. Don't mind me. I rarely am serious.
That's
but
great.
you deserve it.
No, thank you. It was so much fun, you guys. And Anshu, awesome job, my friend.
Don't be surprised if our college teams, approach both of you all for future events.
If it's this talented, surely.
everyone smile. One more. Smile again. Can we do like a pose or something maybe? I don't
Can
know.
we do a peace sign, like total patented pose for the literary committee?
Come on, one, Chasa, do it. Nice, guys. Got it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. We had a wonderful evening.
Have a lovely evening, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye. Good night.
Bye. Good
Bye.
night.
Good
Take
night.
care.
May you finish your assignments before 23:59.
Thank you
for that reminder.
Thank you so much.
What assignments?
Not for comms, but other things.
That's okay. You can check the ERP for that.
Yeah.
I had like a mini panic attack suddenly. I was like, assignments?
I'm so sorry.
Cries in engineering.
You let rate.
Live streaming
That is
also
what.
stopped, I believe, right?
Yeah, please. Yeah, it stopped. That's why I said.
Where they are?
The recording
Yeah,
is
yeah.
stopped. Live stream also confirmed.
I was about to. Huh?
I couldn't have even imagined of a feminist Beauty and the Beast, to be honest.
That was amazing.
I,
Like I never imagined there were so many twists for Beauty and the
Right?
Beast. This is the
I
first
know
time.
you actually made the Beast supportive.
Yeah, I know.
Like
I
could
never
imagine.
imagined, like, Belle with what do you say, a beast who's turned into a female, and I was like, oh my goodness, this
The
That was
moment,
clever.
like,
That was clever.
the moment I heard that
box,
piece, I was like,
out of the
this
box
is
and away.
definitely Sharon. This is definitely her.
I was just like, imagine, like, if that happens to us. Then I realized, I mean, what ma'am said was true. I suddenly bought King's College to it, and then she's saying yes, and I'm like, yeah. And the best part about this is I started writing, with the fantastic deadline that you guys gave, no? At first of all,
We
10 o'clock
couldn't
in the night,
help it. We are
then
so
12 in the
sorry.
night.
Oh God.
Literally,
Sharon,
I don't
4 a.m. story.
I literally submitted it 3
Brings
minutes
out the
before the
best in you.
deadline. My God.
Wow.
I
2 hours, okay? 2
I
hours.
seriously, I 10 o'clock I messaged all three heads and admins. What are we supposed to do? 11:57 I submitted. I don't know about the others. I submitted that time. So
We just had to keep it a 24-hour event. I know it was a little chaotic, but
The thing
It
is,
was, it was smooth for the
Being
most
the
part.
very first
The judges.
literary event for us, this was amazing.
This is literally the smoothest event of
volunteering,
Yeah, yeah.
attending the
I have
very first
attended in
paper.
2 years.
True.
Literally.
That is true.
That's a
It was
big
the
compliment,
most
a huge compliment.
Like your
after
meetings
after
were
all the meetings,
really
I'm
worth
gonna
events
go
yesterday
for them
and
on
today,
camera.
this was the most smoothest one. Even I agree with that. Otherwise, the amount of chaos we also know.
yeah, and at least वो platform का कुछ issue तो नहीं हुआ, thank God.
Yeah. It was great.
Let's
Chalo guys, I'll take your leave. My mom is calling me out for
Yes.
dinner, and if
Yeah,
I don't
even I
open
have
the
to
door
go.
Even
now,
I'm
she'll
hungry.
be in here forever.
Also, last thing for the
Bye
writers.
bye guys. Fun
I don't
event,
think
fun
I was.
stories. Thank you.
I don't think I was the only one whose heart dropped when Crystal took 2 stories. Was it?
Same. I knew it.
Then
Crystal
panic
had to
attack.
come with something. I knew it. Like I knew this thing she will come. I asked her also, what story did you choose? She's like, I didn't select even one. I selected 2. And I'm like, okay, fantastic. Huh?
Uska bus chale, she would have done 3.
I would have done 3. I'm not even joking. I would have
अरे
done
उसने
3.
पूछा तो था अपने को, can I like do a crossover between all 3 of them?
I instant heart drop moment.
It was, we were all like, is this allowed? Is this allowed? Should we allow her that? Is that okay?
Exactly, we
हमने rules बना, हमको नहीं पता.
Did not expect that, honestly.
Even I didn't expect it. And I knew some tamasha this one will do. I had a gut feeling. So then I wasn't surprised. I mean, my heart